Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Somos Moss, the official podcast of Somos Moss NM and your source for the latest news and notes on New Mexico United and the New Mexico Runners. My name, of course, is Seth Bidoff. Thank you guys so much for joining us here across our social media feeds as you do each and every Tuesday night during the regular season. We have joining me tonight, we have Jacob Terrell, special guest, friend of the show. You guys know him, you love him, Harry Austin at Ramacall across social media. Harry, thank you so much for taking time out and joining us this evening. We've got a big show, and I'm really excited to get your takes on these. Just real quick, I mean, we haven't talked to you in a while, at least not live on air like this. You're in the chat every week, and we do appreciate that. How has your off season been? How are things going for you and live on air like this? And your family?
It's going all right. The kids are, AJ's wrapping up junior varsity high school as a freshman this week. So he's got not a lot of time, maybe 5-10 minutes a game, but as a freshman, not bad for that here. So pretty happy with him and his performance. Club soccer kicks back up next week, I guess, with the games, and we're doing a rec league with him and his sister. So as you know, as I've seen you and your family, sports is a big part of it. I'm a big believer in how that helps build character and real life skills here. So it's fun. As far as being the champion, there's a lot of weight to I know you guys probably don't know this yet, a lot of weight to be able to repeat for that here. So I'll try to be.
For the record, that was Jacob that hit that button there. Jacob unfortunately doesn't know what it's like to carry the crown. You and I, Harry, we support teams that have become world champions here recently.
Can you hear me?
No.
Okay. My football team has won a Super Bowl way more recently than yours.
That is true.
And
that is
than Harry's for that matter. But I have a series.
Who is your football team?
Tampa Bay.
I'd leave the show too.
I have a serious question though. Okay.
Sure.
Earl, welcome, Earl. Speaking of timely,
he's on mute.
You're muted, Earl. Hold on. Let me do this for you.
I said it's about fucking time you guys let me in this bullshit.
You were running around like a chicken with your head cut off. I'd let me
in for like 5 fucking minutes.
We were waiting for you to settle in and get on the camera so that the lack of Team Earl supporters in the chat this evening.
I don't even have my hug juice. That's how late I am right now.
If somebody wasn't aware of what we were talking about there, they would be very confused with
yes.
That.
I'll be right fucking back.
You just showed up.
Carry on.
Anyway, Harry, at what age did your kids start playing sports?
Recreation wise, probably 7 or 8.
Okay, good to know.
We did like they have like I-9 sports, just rec, we didn't put them into club until 7th grade for AJ, and Anna didn't go club because she didn't, she wasn't very athletic. She liked going out there just to go out there. But yeah, we tried all the sports, so at the exception of football for that here. But basketball, they hated baseball. They had no attention drive for it.
Was the football your choice or their choice?
So AJ, when he was born, had a craniosynosis where his skull was fused together.
Okay.
So he's had 2 operations. So he's already got $1 million head for that here. Didn't say brains, $1 million head. So mom kind of put the squash on that. But kind of true story, kind of along those lines, old school. So when the kids were born, of course, I have twins.
Right.
Doctor comes up, talk to us about AJ, and he's like, your son, his skulls fused together, blah 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 blah. My first question was, will he be able to play football? My wife almost slapped the hell out of me.
I
She's
would
like,
have too.
really? That's your first question? I'm like, yeah. As a dad, I was like, can he play sports? So, but no.
Robert, you didn't. I mean, you might have missed the email invite. Earl was supposed to send it to you, so blame him. That makes me feel a little better. I have a 5-year or a 6-year-old that has shown no interest in playing sports right now, even though I'm trying to get him to, because they have like t-ball and little dribblers basketball here in Fort Sumner, and he's just hasn't wanted to do it at all. So I still have a couple more years. Hopefully he'll make the turn and want to play.
Well, especially the cost to do it. It's what, $60 to $100. At least it was back at that time. I'm assuming it probably a whole lot more now, or hopefully it's not.
Dude.
But
It's like, even for I-9 basketball, like my youngest plays I-9 basketball, it's around $190 for
something, yeah.
7 weeks. And then
to me, if I don't mind doing it to kind of test it out, but if they don't show any interest in it, I'm not a big believer in forcing kids to do something that they don't want to do, especially at that age. Let them kind of discover it, and maybe going out with dad and mom and the family, hey, to see if you can build the interest that way. But
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, my youngest is he's not necessarily like, he's not as sporty as my older son is. So like we tried him out soccer originally when he was 4. He didn't really take to it. He was the smallest kid on the team. And so we kind of backed off and let him, decide what he wanted to do. He eventually decided he wanted to try basketball. So we did that. And then my older son has been playing sports since he was 5. We've done baseball, basketball, football, soccer, we've done all of the major sports. So it's, like you said, let the kids pick. And that's how we've done it. Let the kids decide what their interests are, where they want to go, and not force them into one direction or another. And then, but I think once they do get old enough, it's like, okay, now you got to pick. We can't necessarily do everything all the time, and conflicting seasons and things like that. So,
but that I think is, as a society, where we're trying to single everything, because growing up, I don't know about you, Jacob, but I played all the sports, even up through high school.
Mm-hmm.
If you only played one sport, your friends, and I grew up in a rural part of Colorado, so they were like, why are you only wrestling? Why aren't you playing football? Obviously I couldn't do spring sports because, we had a ranch, and, unfortunately family work came before school, school sports at that point. But to me, I think we're doing a disservice to kids by saying, hey, you're playing basketball 365 days, or you're playing football the whole year. I think the kids nowadays miss out on doing multiple sports.
I feel like there's a Dad Venture podcast episode here for sure. So I will stop diving into it now, because it's a topic that I think we could talk about for probably an hour or more.
Well, Earl being the youngest one, and in high school was probably 2-3 years ago for you. What was your experience?
He's got to finish his Lunchable first.
I'm sorry, the fuck are we talking about?
Youth sports, Earl, since you just graduated I-9 Academy.
Maybe.
Graduate.
I played all 3 sports that we had out here. So we had football, basketball, and track. I played all of those, and it's kind of true. You said that if you only played one sport, they kind of looked at you funny, which was very true. Why are you played football? Why can't you play basketball? You play football and basketball. Why can't you do track? Well, running fucking sucks. That's why.
Is track a sport though?
Yes.
So
It's a competitive athletic event.
Somewhere in this book I used to follow, it says that, and Jacob, you might be able to get me better on this one. You should never run unless you're running from evil.
Something like that, yeah.
So yeah, running fucking sucks.
Are you trying to quote Sun Tzu or something? Like,
No, he's trying to quote the Bible.
okay. Youth sport. Obviously, and I think you're right, Jacob. It is a topic that we could probably sit down and talk for hours. And it's something that I mentioned to you, and in our group text that I'd like to reach out to Chris Kessel and get him on for a show. I think that'd be something like really interesting to get him to talk on.
Oh, dude, he'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, because like seeing some of his tweets, in particular, about youth sports and the systems and like referees and parents and all that, I think it's a fantastic discussion. And it's something that could take quite a while to get through. So, yeah, great way to open the show, guys. Appreciate that. A lot of great comments and the conversation about that. Let's just jump right into it. I mean, obviously, the 2023 season kicks off this weekend. I do have one burning question for you, gentlemen. What is your match for the weekend? Without giving details, what's your match of the weekend?
That was my question, but okay.
I know, but
Harry, I'll let you go first because I have no fucking idea.
I didn't
Hold
realize
on here.
it was a burning question, so I haven't. I looked at it and I had a couple candidates, but now I can't remember. So let me get to mine too. That's just over here dropping shit in the middle of nowhere.
why not make it the burning question? I
So
think
there's-
it's an interesting topic.
There's two of them for me. Louisville City travels to Orange County.
Mhm.
So is Orange County better, or was last year kind of what they really are? And
I will
they
tell you
face,
my answer to that soon.
and then Detroit City and San Diego Loyal. To me, it says everything when the Northern Guard says, "Hey, we like San Diego fans," and I'll just leave it at that.
The guard saying that like anybody.
Hold on, time out. Big old time out over here.
I'm not expanding on it. If you don't know, you don't know.
I just got called out on cussing, so I'm gonna stop cussing. I just like off.
Okay.
Dude, who called you out?
The ball
His
and
wife.
I know you got the little blue kid drink,
Oh, the daughter. The daughter might. His daughter might now. I don't know which one it was.
Early, you can't swear in front of the kids.
That's interesting, Harry, because I also had two, and they were completely different. So I guess looking at it, I wasn't thrilled with the slate this weekend, but apparently there's a lot more good games out there than I thought. I'm gonna let Earl go first though, because I can.
I didn't realize it was soccer this weekend, so
Earl,
We've been talking about this.
I sent you the text and said, "Hey, I think we should go over what our game of the week is since United doesn't play."
Hey, why don't you go United Colorado Springs since you both have a bye?
deal. Actually, I got this. Oh, you're not gonna be able to see it. There you are, kind of.
Yes, and then after that, I said, "Hey, I'm going to add to that what the match of the weekend is." But anyways, fine. Earl doesn't know his head from his ass, so we're going to move on.
I didn't get that text, so
Okay, I'm almost positive you did, but okay. Mark this down. Mark this down, Earl. Mark this down because this is a first. I'm going to agree with Team Earl in the chat. Where he says San Antonio FC and Oakland is the match of the weekend. That is one of the ones that I'm looking forward to. I have like this weird affinity with Oakland. Like they're not great, but they're
Their
feisty.
kids rock, though. Their
No.
kids rock.
Well, they're some of the kits that have come out. San Diego's orange kit is freaking sick.
yeah, Oakland's white kit.
Both
White
of
kit
Oakland's
that they
ones
came
are
out this year.
nice as hell. Who else was there? I don't know. Anyways, I'm looking forward to that match to see kind of what San Antonio is going to look like to start the season. And then Oakland's just like this weird mystery wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in a riddle, stuffed inside a cannoli that I just don't understand.
I like cannolis.
And so I like that one. And then the other one was going to the East, which we don't normally do on this podcast, but I'm going to go to the East. I'm going to look at Pittsburgh and Birmingham. Birmingham, made a few changes. They get Nico Brett back. I think they're going to be pretty good this year. Pittsburgh lost a bunch of players, but it's Pittsburgh and it's Bob Lilly. And I'll be damned if they don't win this game 1-0 because that's what they seem to do. So just curious to see what exactly those two teams look like after an off season and they probably will be fighting for home field in the playoffs possibly. So I think that'll be a fun.
So after looking at it, I'm gonna go with the East, and I know Jacob said we don't do this that often. I don't do it ever.
I didn't think you knew it existed.
I'm looking at Memphis and Loudoun. Memphis was really, really good towards the end of the season, and then they kind of took a small tumble and then got eliminated, obviously. I want to see if they can pick up where they left off during the regular season and put a Loudoun team who hasn't won one in 1, 2, 3, 4. They haven't won one in a while. Oh, Marlena.
Focus, Earl. Focus. Loudon.
Earl, do you need to go to bed?
Anyways, so Loudoun, I mean, hasn't done good ever. So the only time they did good was when they had one certain ref over here in Albuquerque that
yeah, for that guy
that we didn't do anything about. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I want to see Memphis and see where they're at. Obviously with them always being a playoff contender.
They lost their coach too, so I am curious to see what they look like with
right.
I think like 8 starters coming back, but a new coach to see what he does differently with them, as opposed to what Ben did.
Did you guys catch the news today?
Oh yes, I did. Yes.
Their leading scorer is pissed off because he had opportunities to go to Europe or MLS,
and they didn't.
This 901 said nope. So not good to have drama in the locker room week 1. Just saying.
Yeah.
Seth, you're awful quiet over there.
So my biggest hope. So hold on before Seth opens his mouth. So my biggest hope is that Memphis, with their new coach and all that, everything going on with them, and all this new
drama,
all this new changes that they have. I hope they don't get caught with deers in headlight.
What's a deers?
I meant deer, like a deer in the headlights.
There we go.
Hey, I think Robert just asked a question here for you.
No one cares about Robert's question.
Even Robert's giving you a hard time. It's gonna be a long night for you. But all right, Seth, what's yours?
So honestly, you guys all have great answers.
Hey, Seth, hold on. Atlanta United 2 is no longer in the league, which I know is your favorite team, so you can't pick them.
No, can't pick Atlanta United.
Yeah, but he will also come at you and say 3-1 or something like that, or world champs or some stupid crap.
No. None of my teams won a championship last year, so I think we're gonna move on from that. No, I mean honestly, like I've really been looking forward to this weekend. We've been talking about all off season, and there's one match in particular I want to see, and that's you guys probably have. This probably isn't on anyone's radar. It's the Battery Rising match.
That'll be a good one.
Definitely up there because I want to see if John over at USL Tactics is smoking crack or not, and why he got Phoenix so high. I understand Trejo and a couple of other pieces, but I'm not sold on him yet. So they go out and thump Charleston. Maybe I'll change my tune. But I think last year they went out and thumped Oakland to start the season.
Mm-hmm.
No, and Monterey Bay.
It's Monterey Bay. Okay. I knew it was one of those newer California teams, and then they had the season from hell. So maybe one game shouldn't influence me that much, but I think it will a little bit.
Yeah, looking at John's rankings and particularly how he has everyone graded for the offseason, he was pretty high on Battery's offseason. He's been pretty high on Rising, and he kind of I made a comment over on Reddit saying that I felt like his methodology and his it just how heavily weighted the past performances. I felt like it's way too high. Now, yes, you have to pull from historic data to get your current rankings and power, all that kind of stuff. But I just, especially with how bad Rising was for the majority of last year, and the fact that his rankings of them never really seemed to waver throughout the entire season.
That's not true.
No, I mean, if you look at it, even up until like the last couple of weeks, like he consistently had them as a playoff contender.
Well, they were a playoff contender.
Like, I'm sorry, what were we watching? Rising was not good defensively
The
last
bottom
year
of the
at
West
all.
was jumbled up like crazy. So they, until the very end, they could have made the 7th seed. Until like the last week of the season, the last 2 matches, maybe even 1 match, it was very conceivable that Phoenix was still going to sneak in there.
Well, potentially, yes. But again, you watch the product on the pitch. They weren't consistent at all. They had, and we've talked about this a lot last
Neither
season.
was 7 through 13.
Well, none
That's
of them
why
were.
he had them as a contender for the playoffs.
Well,
So
I'm not saying that, but like he was, because he even like towards the end, like he had them rated above us, like, which didn't make any sense if you watch how they played. And so that's why, like, just looking at it, to me, it's you have to take the current performance, because we can all agree that they did not do well at all for the vast majority of the season. And they just, even the change in coach, a change in tactics, like just nothing was working for them. So arguably, to me, Phoenix didn't necessarily improve this offseason. They got rid of a lot of talent. Now, admittedly, we picked up a number of those pieces. We picked up Santi, picked up Hurst, and then they picked up some international spots in return. And no one still really knows all the international spot rules. Because supposedly we still have like 5 despite giving up 2. So no one knows all these rules. And yes, they brought in Danny Trejo, but I don't know how that system's going to work in Phoenix. So I want to see how these 2 clubs who did not have good 2022 seasons, how did their build in the off season change them for the better here in 2023? And I think this is going to be a very good, first weekend matchup to see what could potentially happen.
It's a good shout.
We got some comments over in the chat here. Over under number of times that Blanchett cramps up. Maya says go Oakland. Earl, has someone spiked your juice box?
Yep. You're muted.
And look, I think I might have converted somebody.
What juice box?
Seth,
The
Earl,
little blue one
don't
that you
mute
had.
do not mute it there. Mute it on the damn screen so you can see if you're muted or not, please.
What?
Mute it on the screen. It's like children over here.
Yeah.
But yes, I think all in all,
Anyways, no, my juice box is not spiked.
Earl, we run a tight ship here, Earl. No nonsense.
I'm the king of nonsense
You're also the king of timeliness.
and timeliness.
But yeah, all in all, the opening weekend is here. There are a lot of storylines going forward, a lot of things to look forward to this weekend. Obviously, New Mexico United is not playing this weekend. We do have a intra-squad match on Saturday. Should anyone want to go down and watch that at First Financial Credit Union Field, you can go check that out on Saturday. But we talked about last week. This is going to be our big season preview show. We're going to look at the East and Western conferences. And of course, we want to bring Harry on because obviously San Antonio is the defending USL champions. Let's start with the side that we all know and love. We are obviously all more familiar with the Western Conference. Changes galore.
Well, no, I thought we were doing New Mexico stuff first.
We'll go in whatever order we want.
I did
That was the order that Jacob had set up.
I said that was a rough outline.
Oh, rough. All right, I'll roll with it.
And I honestly didn't know where Seth was going to go either. So I thought we would do New Mexico.
Oh, well, all right. Well, if you got, we can do New Mexico. That's fine by me. Let me, I had it up. I was looking at it earlier. All right. Yeah, well,
if you don't have your answers, Seth, and you need more time,
No.
You're on the Earl schedule. Just let us know, man. It's okay.
No, I am good to go. I am prepared as always. I have my tabs pulled up over here on my other screen. I'm ready to go. Jacob, you sent out an outline as we were just mentioning United predictions for the season. Now, we obviously haven't seen too much. Jacob's been in person once. We've seen the Twitter feeds. We've seen the fact that we went unbeaten in the preseason. Looking at the roster and what we know so far. Jacob, how do you want to start this? Do you just want to start with your list here, or how do you want to look at this?
I'll start with a couple highlights from Media Day real quick to give a little more insight to coaches' thoughts on the roster and kind of what me and Earl gleaned from that. Last year, we'll start a little bit with last year. It was a little bit of a disappointing year. I mean, we did finish 5th. We were right there competing for a home playoff spot till the very end. But it was an off year. I mean, a lot of injuries, a lot of forwards. I don't know how many forwards we had at one time, probably like 7 or 8.
19 if you ask Reddit.
Yeah, and it wasn't, something was off with the team. We mentioned, me and Earl mentioned a lot of the times when we were down there on the field level for the games, some arguing, some back and forth between teammates. And then you fast forward to this offseason and this preseason where we were at, whether it's the match that I was at, preseason match that I was at, or the media day that me and Earl were able to attend. Coach mentioned in both of those scrums that we were going to have a smaller team. And then he also mentioned that this team definitely has a better chemistry and gets along better. And there's not a whole lot of I. It's a lot of us, a lot of we, a lot of team. So that can only lead me to believe that some of the names that are not here now, I would say Nico, Preston, Alexi, Kiesewetter, maybe Kavan to an extent, are names that maybe they're kind of thrown under the bus without actually throwing them under the bus, that were more me instead of us.
And
what
Jacob just did.
Yeah, look. The writing's on the wall. I'm just going to read it. I'm not just going to let everybody else read it. I'll read it out loud.
He gets paid to do this.
Sure. In
To the power of 0.
Yeah, an ego boost. Comments from Team Jacob. Basically, that's about it.
I mean, what more could you ask for?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let me ask you this, Jacob. I want to interject here real quick. So you mentioned these names, and this is something that you mentioned that there appeared to be some on-field stuff last year. I mean, we clearly saw Kavan and Nico go at it. We clearly saw that.
I thought it was
it was Preston.
It was Preston.
It was Preston. So we and it was on the broadcast. You could see them arguing. Of those players, it was very apparent to those that were present that there really was some sort of disconnect between the players, because we even questioned it last year. How do they all fit together? Now, to me, looking at those names, Jerome Kiesewetter is a guy that he came in, he played a role, and he did everyone. He doesn't seem like a very, very much of a me guy as compared to, say, Kavan or Nico.
And I want to, my 2 cents there is Nico might not be one of those names. Nico might not have been brought back because of numbers, money, and goals. And he dealt with a lot of injuries. So because from everything that I heard going into last season was Nico was one of the best teammates you could ask for in the USL. And so it wouldn't surprise me if Nico wasn't that guy. If it was more Preston, because we saw Preston basically lose playing time as the season went along, and we barely didn't see it. We barely saw him this last third of the season, basically. Romario was another one that I think it's safe to say Romario is somebody that the current United players did not get along with, and we'll talk about that in a few. But so maybe I want to take Nico's name back. I said it a little prematurely. I'm not going to throw Nico under the bus there, because I personally really liked Nico. Every time I talked to him, he was a joy. And I think he just had a rough year. And because of that, with the option being as high as it was to bring him back, that's why I think we didn't bring him back. But the other names, Preston and Alexi in particular, I think are two that might have had some issues with the team concept.
See, I'm kind of surprised that with you throwing Alexi's name on it, because he really seemed to me like a genuine like person, and he really seemed to.
I say him because you mentioned the Preston Freighter spat.
Mhm.
We saw Alexi get into it with Mondo very clearly.
That is true. Yeah.
I also saw him get into it with a couple of the other defenders at times. Nothing as big as the Mondo blow up, but just some things like that. And so I want it to be perfectly clear that these are no names were said to us by coach or anything like that. I'm just kind of extrapolating what he told us with what I saw last year. And so it's a decent possibility Alexi wasn't one of those guys either, but they're definitely preaching more of a chemistry, us type mentality, team mentality this year. And you look at the names that are missing, and you can only draw some conclusions to some of those anyways. So all I know is that coach definitely seems to be very high on the roster that we have right now. It's not going to grow very much, if at all. He says he wants to keep it small, wants to keep it about 23 players, which we don't even have 23 players right now, so it might grow a little bit. I expect Alex Wagner to probably just be on the first team and forego college for now. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but that would be my guess. We also extended Nava today. And then he did say that we probably would have some of the trialists be signed to a contract officially coming up soon. So I hear you. I hear you, Team Earl. And actually, I'm going to toss it to Earl. Earl, was there anything else from Media Day that roster-wise or team-wise that you stuck out to you?
I mean, I had never been. Let me make sure this stupid.
It's on. You're on. You're
okay,
on.
Good. So I had never been to a media day. In the 5 years that we've been doing this, 4.5-ish, whatever, however long we've been doing this for. I had never been to a media day. So when Jacob was like, "Hey man, I'm going to media day," I'm like, "Cool. Now's the perfect time for me to go." So I took a couple hours off of work.
Pause. Is your boss listening to this?
Well, the only
She's
boss
in the other
listening to
room.
this
No.
would be
His work boss.
So yeah, so the thing that stuck out most to me was the communication. I mean, they were preaching finishing. Like, that's the only word you ever heard was finish it. And it was kind of nice because we didn't really finish all of last season. Like, we didn't have any scoring
or the season before,
or ever really.
Stay muted, Harry. Stay muted for this part.
So yeah, so it was nice seeing that, and then just seeing the comfort, I guess would be the word from the team. I mean, they were comfortable with us being there. They were enjoying us being there. Some of them interacted with us a little bit, just doing their thing, and it was really nice to see that they were wanting to be on the same page, even for media day. So it was pretty nice. And then whenever Kaylin and Sam sat down and they gave us their thoughts on what the roster looked like and how they were excited about what they had and just different things that they had going on.
They also talked about how they felt like they were ahead of where we were this time last year, as far as cohesion and chemistry and stuff like that. So it wasn't just coach that was preaching about how the roster is getting along right now. It was also Sam and Kaylin, two players that one has been there all 5 years and Kaylin's been there 4 of the 5. So they kind of know more or less what the rosters have felt like every year. And they definitely felt like they were farther ahead week 1 of this year than they were basically all of preseason last year. So
yeah, so it put me at ease knowing that, I mean, one, obviously the team being better off than what they were last season now at this point than last point. And just their opinion on what the roster is right now. I mean, they spoke highly of Alex. They spoke highly of what the overall team was. So yeah, I'm excited to see what actually happens. And that's where I'm at. I mean, it gave me positive vibes for the season to come.
So looking at the roster as it is right now, not expecting a lot of change aside from a couple trialists. We've got really just 4 new additions. Maybe just, is it 4? Shit, it might just be 3. We brought back Santi, obviously. We brought in Hurst. Oh, 4. It is 4. Okay, we brought in Hurst from Phoenix. We brought in a kid named Josh Dalling from St. Louis City 2 from MLS Next Pro that has looked really, really good this preseason. And then we brought in a very, very tall Swedish center back that they were referring to him as Timo on the pitch. All of his teammates were. Last name is Zali, Timothy Zali. Out of those 4, and then out of the whole roster, with Weehan, Moreno, I mean, who's coming back. I'm not gonna go through all the names there, but who is going to be this year's team MVP? We'll start with Seth. Seth hasn't talked in a while. Actually, no. I want to get Harry's opinion before we start on the people that actually follow or cover the club.
So I got a 1A and a 1B. 1A, I'm going to go with the old vet, Chris Weehan. He kills San Antonio, but I think his leadership that he provides, especially in the middle offensively, and I think with Marino, Hurst, Moore, I think is going to, as a New Mexico, if you're a fan of New Mexico, hopefully he'll be able to kind of create a whole bunch of opportunities. I don't know if he'll score as much, but I do think that his assist and his hockey assist, he may not get the assist, but the assist to assist through there. And then my other one, I think is going to be Greg Hurst. I'm looking for him to kind of have a breakout year. Didn't have a decent year in Phoenix for that here, but I think kind of underwhelmed. But
that whole club in Phoenix underwhelmed.
Right, but prior to that, coming from Union Omaha, where in USL League One for that, and yes, it still is a handball Weehan. But I got to give him kudos. He did come over and sign my flag. So, but I'm a big believer on the middle infield, the leadership through there. Rojo in Sacramento, Hopano, that's now in Hartford. Us with PC and Maloney. Just that veteran leadership. They may not get all the fancy goals and highlights, but the leadership, the MVP, I think that for me, that's who I think would be the team MVP. Hurst might end up with the more goals, and typically we know USL Championship rates MVP as the best offensive player. So I went 1A and 1B.
Seth, you got anybody different?
Yeah. Before I get my answer, obviously, if you're in the chat, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. Throw your choice for MVP over in the chat.
Unless you're Team Earl, then I don't care.
Yeah, Robert. Yeah, according to Jacob, your opinion doesn't matter in this. So,
and if you do put an opinion, you don't watch soccer. Thanks for being here.
Yes, anybody that's in the chat, obviously, we do appreciate you watching tonight.
Honestly, if you just look at the roster and pick a name at random, you probably have a better chance than getting it right than Harry
or me.
Yeah, because we all know that Earl does not pay attention to soccer at all now that he's married. So,
again, married again.
Oh, congratulations, Earl!
He has a kid now too.
Yeah,
dude, where was my invite, man? I thought we were. Oh, I know. That's why I'm Team Jacob.
Yep. Exactly.
I love Harry.
I'm not gonna comment
because
I know she's watching. And
yeah, just hush, Earl.
Yeah, there you go. No, I do. I like Harry's picks. I think they're really great, and obviously, Hursty and Bees are going to be a big part of the offensive plan this season.
I hate to interrupt you, but the boss behind Jacob just crossed, or is in the shot there. So much respect to Miss Jacob as well.
Harry said, "Much respect to Miss Jacob as well."
Yes, obviously, Allie is a big part of the show and Jacob's life. And so yeah. Earl's still hungry, apparently. Earl,
There's still bacon in there, Earl. That's what's in there. Bacon
Earl,
and HelloFresh.
Earl, ask your in-laws for your allowance this week.
Seth, get to a name.
I'm getting to a name. I look at the roster and the guys we've got come back, and I honestly think for me, the potential MVP here is going to be Timothy Zali. I think he's a guy we've been begging for height on the back line.
Answer, Seth.
What
answer? That is a crazy answer. That's crazy.
Last year we had issues defensively at times. We were begging for height. We were begging for someone. At least I felt like Kalen did not have a great season. I was looking for someone who could get back on the ball and make an impact back there. Big body guy who's proven his worth over in Europe, has worked his way up through the pyramid there. So I think this is someone that could, he's not just going to score a lot of goals, but he's going to contribute on the field. I think he can make a huge difference in our back line.
I will say about the body, he is very tall.
Yeah.
He's also about the size of a toothpick.
Yeah, he is.
He's after seeing him in person, he is very skinny. He's very tall, and he did body up some people in that Colorado State Pueblo or CSU Pueblo game.
He's got some hops too,
but, and he did get up there on that goal. But he is very skinny.
I'll get him some home cooking New Mexico food. That'll put some meat on his bones.
I hope so.
Some green chili.
But yeah, I think that's one of our biggest areas of improvement over last year.
I thought I was coming with a crazy answer, and then you just came off the top rope. Just Earl.
I hear your crazy answer first.
No, I'm running this portion right now, and I'm telling you.
Okay. I actually, it's probably the first time I do this. I agree with.
Didn't do my homework.
You agree with Harry?
I agree with Harry.
Yeah.
With it either being Hurst or Bees. I might even throw in Kalen in there, just depending on how. I know Seth didn't like that answer.
Okay,
but...
hold on. Harry, unmute yourself. You have now shaken your head at Kalen twice, or at once at him, and then you agreed with Seth about him having a bad year last year. What
he had a poor year last year. It's not even up for debate.
Okay, that's
the numbers don't lie, my friend.
Okay, so why are you shaking your head to this year?
Because I don't think he's going to have a good year.
Okay,
easy answer, right?
So can I continue?
Yeah, go ahead, Earl.
Good talk. So those are my A, B, and C options. Obviously Hurst being number 1, Bees being second, and then Kalen being third. I'm waiting for a D option to come in here in a couple seconds, so I'll come back to that answer.
Okay.
It falls in the chat, I guess. So
I will. I'll throw this comment out there from our favorite team, Earl. If Phoenix Rising was so bad, why did we raid their squad? Hurst was okay in the games I watched, and Moir kept throwing fits. So they were bad, not because of the talent that they had. It was just one of those years that a organization can go through where just shit is just haywire with coaching and whatnot. Morrissey will back me up on this. Santi had a much better year than his raw numbers indicate. And then if you go back 1 year when he had basically an MVP caliber year, if it wasn't for Haji Berry back in 2021, Hurst I thought was good, but was a product of a lack of cohesion around him. So that's part of why I think New Mexico was happy to take Hurst and Moore off Phoenix's hands, because Phoenix emptied house. I mean, they cleaned house. That whole roster basically was retooled this year. So I think we got 2 of their best, probably 4 players from last year, and I think a new setting for them will do wonders.
Yeah, we talked about it quite a bit last season, what the issue was, and after these signings. And I mean, honestly, I think it was system issues. They just didn't play well. There's no cohesion. Defensively, they were an absolute disaster. So it's not, again, it's not that there was a lack of talent. They did not perform up to expectations of basically everybody except for us, or me anyway, where they performed down. So. It was, it's just a down year. I mean, will they be back this year? I don't know. Like you said, a lot of changes.
We'll get to them when we talk about the West a little more. As for the MVP for United, I had Weehan written down, and I thought that was going to be a hot take with as bad as he played last year. But Harry says it. You guys didn't even bat an eye, probably because you didn't want to abuse Harry. But I'm very surprised that this name didn't get thrown out there. So I'm going to throw it out there instead of Weehan, since we kind of.
Do not say Sam.
Why would I say Sam? No, it's Santi.
Portillo.
It's Santi. I mean, if he can return, I mean, he, like I said, he had an MVP form but 2 years ago. And if you can take last year and look at raw numbers, or look past the raw numbers of just goals and assists, and look at some expected goals and assists and stuff like that, and then you also throw in there what Phoenix was dealing with, and you come in, you bring him here, you bring Hurst with him. They've already had some good combo plays this preseason. We saw some last year, so I think they have a good repertoire together. You have Weehan back with him from the 2019 year when he played so well with us. You add Moreno into that mix. You add Nava into that mix. You add Doling into that mix. And say what you will about him. I mean, we yelled after he went to Phoenix, don't let him come back to the right. Why do you keep letting him come back to the right? Well, I think it's kind of just because it's hard to stop him coming back to the right. And when he cuts back to the right, to the middle of the pitch, and gets that ball on his right foot, he's very dangerous. Whether it's going for goal and curving one into that far corner, whether it's playing a ball into a guy like Hurst or Doling, crossing it over to Moreno, finding Weehan set back at the 18-yard box for a shot. I mean, he options just open up there, and it's really hard to defend. And what I did like about him last year is you saw him, instead of going to the right every time, or going to the right so much that it became a problem, to where he wouldn't go to drive to the baseline. He actually did that and got in some just left-footed crosses that found Hurst or somebody making a good run. And so if he can vary that up and duplicate the numbers that he had in 2021 with Phoenix, I think it's very, very likely that he can compete with not only us, not only for our MVP, but for a league-wide MVP, if we're going to reach the levels that we want to reach.
See, and I'm not against that answer. I told you at Media Day, if Santi can be the Santi of old, he's a force to reckon with. I mean, I told you when we're watching it. He is very, very animated. We saw that when he missed a practice shot, where he ran to the fence and yelled some curse words in Spanish. So I'm not against you saying Santi at all. I mean, had Hurst not shown up or Hurst not been here, Santi probably would have been on my list.
So flipping over to the other side of the ball, Seth, is it safe to assume that if Zali is your MVP pick, that he's your Defender of the Year pick too?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that, because I mean, realistically, I couldn't have him as MVP and not Defensive Player of the Year. But I mean, I think he brings like I said, he brings a dynamic to the backline that we haven't had. And so I think he has the opportunity to pick a real big statement back there.
Earl, you had Ryden kind of in your quasi MVP pick? Is he the Defender of the Year? Obviously, Tim Bacchus is a is a pretty good shout for that too. But if we're looking at field players, are we looking at Kalen for you?
Yeah, I mean, Kalen, ever since he showed up the first year he got here, and I know Seth is going to roll his eyes and twiddle his thumbs and bat his eyes a little bit more. It's whatever. That's why I'm the king of nonsense and timeliness and shithousery. So if you could add that title to my little tabs here, that'd be great. Thank you for the people in the back. Yeah, so Kalen, I've always been a fan of him. Even last year when he had a down year, he still was the consistency that we needed on that back line. He was the captain of that back line, essentially. Like, without him, our back line would have been worse than what it was.
I disagree.
Yeah, of course you do, but you're also wearing a red hat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I certainly am wearing a red hat because you know what?
Can someone just mute this guy? He's wearing the Arizona Diamondbacks hat when he's a Padres fan.
What the
what?
Harry, save us.
Anyways, so no, staying on topic and without Seth interrupting. Like I said, I've always been a fan of Kalen. I've always loved the way he played, except for the couple bonehead moves that he made. That Seth will probably show at some point, and if he gives me 4 seconds to give a break, he probably has it plugged in by now. So Kalen is be my defensive player of the year.
Harry, what's the outsider perspective on this?
So this one for me is hard because I don't know the back line for it here. I went with Austin Yearwood, number one. He's got a cool name. And to me, I'm looking more on the fullback side to see if they can come up a little bit more and be more involved in the offense. So like I said, I kind of went with them and being able to track back. I also went with plan B. I thought it was going to be kind of, hey, Harry's off the wall. But with Zolly being the tall center back that you guys have been missing for a while, coming in, I know there's probably going to be an adjustment period. A little bit worried that he's a stick instead of, got some meat on the bones. But I think for New Mexico, having some height in the back, especially going against San Antonio and other teams that typically have a tall front line, could be pivotal. I thought you guys would go with Ryden, to be honest with you. So I went with this was probably the weakest one that, there's not a lot out on the defense of New Mexico or for anybody, to be honest.
No, I mean, those are actually two pretty good shouts. I mean, obviously Seth agrees with you on the Zolly one, and Austin has been a player that has been, I think, severely underrated in USL circles as a defender. I mean, he probably was our most consistent and best defender last season. I mean, he came in and he what I love about him and Rashid Tete last year both are, if you're dribbling against him one-on-one, you're not getting past him more often than not. He doesn't bomb up near as much as like a Harry Swartz does, but he does still get involved. We saw the curler from him 2 seasons ago, I believe it was, that one goal of the year. And so
because we didn't stuff the ballot box at all.
Yeah. So he'll get up, he'll get involved. I will agree that Kalen had a down year last year. I won't go as far to say as he was terrible, or the blasphemous things that Seth said about him last year. But
he still does, by the way.
You guys only allowed 40 goals, so it's not like your defense was poor.
Right.
Overall, but you only had a +9 goal difference. But I think all of us would agree that was more on the offensive side than the defensive side.
And to that +9 goal difference, I am one of the ones that'll jump in here and say that was also a +7 against Phoenix. So really, it wasn't nearly as good as that. But anyways, I
wasn't going to touch that.
I will. I'll own up to it.
That 40 goals that we allowed, I mean, a lot of those came at the end of the year when half our people were injured and we were
when Kalen Ryden was playing.
Yeah, shut your freaking mouth.
So,
well, no. To me, now I don't follow New Mexico as close as you guys, But I think a lot of the goals that you gave up were late, not necessarily late in the season, but late in the games that cost you the 3 points, that cost, you instead of walking away with 3, you walked away with 1.
Oh, yeah.
Or like Oakland, I think the Oakland matches early in the year where you guys were up, they came back and I don't remember if they walked away with all 3 points or a tie, but it felt like a loss listening to the show.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And to me, that was on the defense.
Not to interrupt, but I do remember me and Jacob being on that north end, walking back to the dugout. Like, what the hell do we have to do to win in this place?
Well, so what? Rewind a little bit. Last year, we won our first 2. We beat Vegas here, and then we beat El Paso and El Paso. Then we came back. We had a late lead against Orange County, gave up a stoppage time goal in there to get a draw. Came back that next Wednesday and played Oakland. Same thing, stoppage time goal to give up a draw. Kalen was not playing in those 2 matches. And I'm going to circle this back around to Kalen because he picked up a knock early in the year and never seemed like he had his full speed back after that. Because a lot of what Seth's critiques about him were last year was he just wasn't as fast as he had been in the past, which was true. Having watched him in person this year, both in a preseason match and at training, he looks back. He looks fit. He looks healthy. He looks like he is Kalen Ryden from 2020, 2019, 2021. And that has me excited. I had written his name down, but part of why I'm kind of letting you guys go first is I'm kind of flexible with who I can pick and choose to talk about. So Kalen might be my official pick, but I want to shout out Seymour here. He is a guy that came in last year. We were expecting him to play defensive mid. And then all of a sudden he was on the back line, and then he bounced around the back line, bounced around defensive mid. And no matter what job he had, he did it at such a high level. And I expect this year, especially with the lack of center back depth that we have, at least at the moment, because it's really just Ryden, Zolly, Hamilton, if you want to put him back there, Seymour, if you want to put him back there. And then I do believe they're going to sign Kyle Colonna, who is a trialist that we've been having play with us this preseason and has looked good as well. But that's still pretty thin there, in my opinion. And so having Seymour be flexible enough to play defensive mid if we want to put Sam at center back, play to center back if we want to have him at center back, depending on what the matchups are calling for. I think his versatility and his ability to do multiple jobs at such a high clip make him almost invaluable to this team from a defensive standpoint. That might not get you defender of the year for a team or for the league, but it is a huge, huge asset to have, especially when you're going to be tinkering with formations and depth charts and stuff like that. So just want to shout out him. Harry brought up goals for and against from last season. So I had the numbers and I didn't bring the paper, but basically
40,
we've always
49 for, 40 against.
Yeah, and we've always been like in that top 20 to top 13, 14 range. We've never really cracked the top 10 in either of those categories. We've always just kind of been middle of the pack. Earl, I know you don't have an answer for this because you couldn't figure out how to math in your head. Harry said he had an exact number. So let's go to Harry. Not only do I want the number of what you think we'll score and give up, but where do you think that'll rank in the USL by the time we're talking about this next year?
So I got you at 60 goals because I do think the offense is going to be a little bit better.
Okay.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you where you mentioned that you guys are going thin. Any injuries, that's going to really impact you guys quite a bit because I think as we saw with San Antonio last year, you can survive in injuries if you've got the depth, but if you're running a thin squad and San Antonio brings in players as the season goes on to kind of, they don't go roster heavy at the beginning of the year.
Right.
But by the time July, August comes around, they've got that deep roster. But I also think the defense is going to be a little bit more shakier as well, just because it's a little bit older, a little bit, so I had 60-50. So I think you're going to be a little bit higher scoring, probably top 10 for this year. Probably 50 goals would probably put you at mid-pack, looking at where it was last year here. So I still, like I said, 60-50, top 10 offense, probably, middle of the road, 12, probably between 15. Well, there's 24 teams, right?
Yeah.
So, probably that 15 kind of, 15 to, or 12 to 17 range, kind of along those lines.
For reference,
But-
for last year, like you said, we only had 49 goals for, so you're looking at like an 11 goal jump.
11 goal improvement. Mhm.
And that would put us, looking at last year, 60 goals last year would have put us 7th in the USL Championship. And on the flip side of that, we gave up 40, so you're looking at a pretty good jump there, or 42, sorry.
So maybe drop that down a little bit. I just, like I said here, the defense is hard for me to know.
Yeah,
I'm not you're saying Ryden's looking a lot better. To be honest with you, I didn't know he had a knock last year for that here,
I
because
believe he had a
played most
sports
games.
hernia.
Yeah,
I
he
think
was
that's what it
going
was.
early in the season, and he came back and he played the whole season. There was no mention of it after the fact, but you could tell just by looking at him that he wasn't himself. Defense is always kind of a tricky thing, especially in these lower league clubs where it's, there's not a whole lot of, like, unless you have a guy that played for your team that goes and signs with another team, you don't really have a whole lot of knowledge of the defenders on other people's teams. I mean, you probably cover the league as a whole, or are more familiar with the league as a whole than even we are. And for you to say that you don't know defenders, that just kind of speaks to, unless you're Morrissey and you're sick in the head with what he does, you're not going to know the defenders A through Z in this league.
I'm also anticipating New Mexico to play a little bit more attacking as well.
Agreed.
So and that's going to lead itself to scoring more opportunities, but also giving up more opportunities along those lines. So I'd probably change that. Maybe in 50 is probably a little bit high, probably that 45 to 47 range a little bit, because I do think you guys the goal difference does improve a little bit. But like I said, I do think the offense is going to pick up. I think the talent you guys have up top now is better than last year, or, probably the best that you guys have had in the 4 or 5 years that you guys have been around.
I think name wise, I think last year, if you just look at the names, you're like, holy shit, Kiesewetter.
But it didn't fit though.
It didn't. And so
that's the key though.
So I do think, even though, like, I kind of like that Morrissey's kind of sleeping on us a little bit, and these other teams are kind of thinking, oh, well, they didn't do much this offseason, because we've won the offseason 2 of the last 4 years, essentially, with
you broke the internet, Brian Brown.
Exactly. With what people were saying about us. And then our offense was nowhere near what we expected it to be. So the fact that we kind of changed tune there, and instead of going for names, we went for, obviously Santi and Hurst are pretty good size names in this league, but we didn't go for the Nico Brett size names and hope that he lives up to what he had been. We're kind of playing a little differently, and I appreciate that. Earl, Seth, do you have Earl? I said Earl didn't have an answer to this, and he just left the room for some reason. So, do you have?
He got sent out on a timeout.
Yeah. Do you have some numbers that you're kind of looking at there, or?
So to go back to the stats from last year real quick, through the first half of the season, we conceded 14 goals, which was bottom 25% of the league in terms of fewest goals allowed.
Right.
So we did really well for the first half of the season, and then we conceded 26 goals in the final 17 matches. So yeah, something happened there. But yeah, just looking at what we have so far, looking at who's back, and honestly, I wish Sheed had been re-signed, because Sheed is a guy that I would be talking up and down throughout this show tonight, because I feel like he was such a big part. He had such a good season last year.
It's not out of the question that we bring him back.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm saying to this point,
there's a cat on a chair in Harry's room, and kind of tripped me out. But anyways,
To
we
this-
very well could bring him back. But
Oh yeah, no, we can. But as looking at the roster right now,
Yeah.
like, Sheed is not part of the club currently, and I would love to see him back because I think he could do that. But yeah, I think we can. I want to put us in the 35 to 45 goals conceded range because like Harry said, we're definitely going to be more attacking with the pieces that we have. We have guys in every role that can get the ball forward. We have guys, Hurst. I think Hurst could potentially have a big season. Santi off the wing. You've got Moreno. You've got Bees. You've got Wagner. Like you've got all these guys who are showing. And Brucey. We haven't even mentioned Brucey tonight.
Yeah.
Brucey's already banging goals in. So like we've got all these guys that can potentially put goals in. And I think so far from what we've seen, we've got better delivery. We've had better finishing, which is going to contribute to what I think is going to be more goals this season. So, I see that goal differential expanding. I don't necessarily know I'm going to go quite that high, maybe like the 54 to 58, 57 range, somewhere in there. I just think we're gonna have more opportunities in front of goal. We've got more guys that can get in and take shots from different angles and different areas. So yeah, I mean, I think we finished in the top half of the league in goals scored, and probably bottom half, middle of the pack in goals allowed. So
I like how you gave me a 4-goal window for goals scored, but a 10-goal window for goals allowed. Which is indicative of defense being tricky, like we talked about.
Yeah.
So with those numbers, the high range 57 goals scored would have put us at where'd you go? Right there at 7th, 6th or 7th or 8th, I guess it would be last year. And then goals scored or goals allowed. Sorry. You gave me too wide of a range because 35 would be tied for 4th. But 45 would be all the way up at, 13th. So,
I think for me, it's going to depend on like what system we run. I think that's going to be a lot of it. Are we able to get back in transition? Are we able to, again, getting so many people forward, like, can we make that transition back?
Yeah.
So, because I expect Solid to play out of Timbakis all season long.
Yeah.
I think
you brought up his name because I was about to. I
think most of the goals that we concede are going to be on defensive lapses or the inability to cover space. I think that's where the issue lies more than anything else.
I think that the defensive number to me is obviously where we get a little hung up here. I think Timbakis is primed for a big year. I mean, we already have seen him make some incredible saves. He's always been solid. He had he missed more time last year than he had any of the other years. So if he can come in and stay healthy, I think he can have a really big year. I think we could, get him double-digit shutouts for what would be, I believe, the first time in his career. The thing on the defense that worries me is that thinness, because that is the place where I think we're the most thin. Is on the back line. You mentioned kind of a little bit about the tactics in talking to Zach both after the preseason game and at the media day, and with my eyes in the preseason game and from the drills that we looked at, it definitely feels like a 4-4 or a 4 at the back system of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
A 4-2-3-1 is kind of what I'm thinking. And if that's the case, then we might, especially if Harry bombs like he's known to, and depending on who's playing on that other side, whether it's Suggs, we know Suggs likes to get up. If it's Austin, we might see Austin in there a little more on a little more for defense if we're going up against a high octane offense or something like that. But I do think we're going to be much more attacking minded, like Harry mentioned earlier. And that could leave us susceptible. So I don't think we're going to go down dramatically in goals against. I think right about where we were last season is probably pretty good. Like that 1.2 goals per match allowed area. So right around 42, 43 40, 41, 42, 43, somewhere in there, which I think is good enough for us to, get a double-digit goal differential and contend. Now on the flip side of the ball, I think if what we're seeing in the preseason, which obviously it doesn't always correlate, but certain things from this preseason feel different as far as how we're scoring our goals, how they're coming about. And I think we're going to get a lot more easy chances off of a press. I think we're going to get much better finishing from inside the box, which has always kind of been a bugaboo for us. If you had bugaboo on your bingo scorecard, go ahead and mark that off. And so I do think we're going to come up. I think Harry's almost a little too optimistic on the 60. But I'd have us just a couple below that, 58. 58 was kind of the number that was in my head. And, I think we can get, a plus 16, 17, 18 goal differential going with those numbers and definitely put us in the upper echelon of the Western Conference for sure.
Does anybody have any idea where Earl went? Like, Earl, what are you doing?
Pacing up and on the floor.
Dude, he was folding a tie earlier.
Yeah, he's just doing his thing. I think he was just waiting.
Earl has to be in Santa Fe at 7:30 tomorrow, and he's also packing for the rest of the weekend because he will be working and training in Santa Fe this whole entire week. So,
Earl, where are you now?
My house.
Okay.
Okay. I mean,
that's pretty much it that I had for New Mexico United specifically, other than where do we finish?
Okay, good.
I said not yet. We still Harry, tell us where we finish and then take
There's a reason why I wanted to have I was like, let's get the New Mexico stuff first.
I do like
I got you fourth and a playoff finish. I've got a second round loss at San Antonio.
That's not terrible. So I think that's definitely doable. Seth?
Tough. This is tough. It really is, because there's teams I think might be surprising, but I could see us with an improved attack finishing third, and getting potentially getting a home playoff match. I think
fourth gets you a home playoff match.
Yeah, fourth does. Yeah. I think it's a huge get for New Mexico if we finish there. And depending on how the rest falls out, I say, second round exit. I don't know to who at this point, but
well, if you finish fourth or fifth, you're going against the number one seed. It's a fixed bracket.
Yeah. I really have to figure out who I've got.
We obviously know that Harry thinks that it's San Antonio that's going to be the one seed with how he laid out the bracket, or how he laid out us getting beat by them in the second round.
Pretty much.
So, Earl.
I have us third.
Nice. So I three of us have us third because I had us third as well. I do think that you kind of have this is not because Harry's on the pod. It's not because Harry is Team Jacob. It's because I think this is how it's going to go.
So let's go through the West.
Okay.
Who finishes first? I say San Antonio.
I also have San Antonio.
San Antonio is the favorite.
I have San Antonio up here, and then I have 2 through 5 in the middle, and then I have another group, and then I have the bottom dwellers.
I think San Antonio comes back a little bit. I just think the league overall, because we've got rid of the MLS2 teams, and I think the league overall has gotten better. And San Antonio's lost some. Now their roster's still incomplete, kind of like New Mexico's, where they're still not the final product. I do think San Antonio is the clear winner, but my number 2 team in the West is Sacramento. I think Sacramento's brought in a lot of defense, and I think them bringing in Russell Cicerone is going to be a huge difference up top for them. So I have them finishing second.
Do you guys have?
That's not a bad shout. I mean, I think Sacramento's made some changes, but I think Loyal. Loyal and Sacramento are going to be the two.
I got Loyal
in the
third.
West. Yeah, I was gonna say I figured that's where you might have them.
So do we all? I'm assuming. I don't know if Earl did this exercise or not, but I'm okay. Good. I think we probably all have the same top 4. I think you can almost
Yes,
I think
probably New Mexico, San Diego, Sacramento, San Antonio. Yes.
Right? No, Earl. Who is the team that? Who out of those 4 do you not have in the top 4?
San Diego.
And who
really?
Who else do you have in the top 4?
So my top 4: San Antonio, Sacramento, New Mexico, and Colorado Springs.
Oh wow! You're
Ooh.
so wrong. Sorry. Did that come out?
That
last?
might be the biggest whiff of our predictions right there.
I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll surprise us. But they lost so much. But anyways, okay.
I would love to know the thought process behind putting Colorado in the top 4.
So real quick, just before we get to that,
Yeah.
San Diego, obviously they were the 2 seed last year. They have quite a bit of the talent coming back. They did lose their top goal scorer in Kyle Vassell.
And they lost Thomas Among.
They did.
Who was
I
also
think they
pretty
kind
good.
of, they did get in Damus.
Damas.
Yeah. Coming back after spending a year in Europe. You remember him from winning the MLS or USL Cup, USL Championship title with Orange County 2 seasons ago. I think that's a pretty good person to plug in for those 2 losses, but at the same time, you're kind of replacing 2 guys with 1, and that could be an issue. But I still think they're deep enough, and that the West is just so crowded that they have what it takes to be that 2 seed. But this is where I had 2 through 5 kind of just jumbled up.
So who's your 5th?
You're not gonna like it, guys.
Hey, David, appreciate you.
I got Phoenix.
As do I.
I have, to me, Phoenix and New Mexico, that 4-5, to me is going to be a flip a coin along those lines here. So my next 4, so if we're kind of doing in groups of 4, I have 5 for Phoenix, 6 for Orange County, 7 for Monterey Bay, and RGV under Wilmer Cabrera always seems to sneak into the playoffs with a late run. So I've got
but they always lose the first round.
Next 8. I don't care. You're in the playoffs. I didn't say they're going far. I just said they're finishing 8th.
So now this is where things get interesting. So I too had Phoenix at 5. I don't know what we're gonna get from them. But I know that whatever their coach's name is Guerrero.
Juan Guerrero, who's in
Juan
Phoenix.
Guerrero, yeah.
He took Oakland and was able to take a less talented roster than I think Phoenix has and always make them competitive. They weren't going to win the West by any means, but they were at least competitive. And so I expect them to be competing for a playoff spot and possibly a home playoff spot. But I could also see it going south. I just don't know. They're bringing in guys other than Danny Trejo that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
I'm just not familiar with the other guys that they brought in. They lost Santi, Hurst, Aiden Quinn.
They lost everybody.
I mean, the only ones coming back are a couple pieces from a back line that was fucking terrible. So
Darnell, they've got
King is back.
Niall Dunn, Carlos Anango, I'm sorry for mispronouncing. Barbara Call, Nanje, Kevin Lambert, Darnell King, and Gabby Torres.
Yeah,
King's their captain, and he made several mistakes last year.
And as far as I'm concerned, fuck that guy. I did not like him at all. I liked him at the beginning of last year until
he's a former San Antonio guy, and he's great around the community. But yeah, he had it off. He had a poor year. But they brought in Trejo. They brought in Red Card Harvey, the dirty SOB. I know we can't swear per the rules by Earl there.
No.
Just Earl.
I can't swear. You guys can swear all you guys want. I can't swear.
But they brought in, to me, the interesting thing with Phoenix is they brought in Rocco Rios Novo and Patrick Ravosky, who came over from Orange County. But it sounds like Novo may be the one that's starting over Rakowski, who 2 years ago led Orange County to the title. So,
So Earl, sorry.
Novo's a big talent to head out there.
Yeah.
I mean, he really shown last year at times.
Earl, I got to get. I want to get your thoughts on Colorado Springs real quick because I have Colorado Springs 9th.
I have them 10th.
And I might be a little higher on them than I should be. So coming in at 4th, is it just going off of what they did last year?
No, it's what they added this offseason.
What did they add?
They added, Duke Lacroix,
LaCroix.
whatever, however to say his freaking name.
French.
Speedy Williams, Malik Foster, Deshane Beckford.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, they added a whole
Beckford
bunch.
was there last year.
No, he wasn't.
No, Beckford was in San Antonio.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's
He
right.
was there the year before.
But
the year before, yeah.
But he couldn't crack the 18.
So they added a whole bunch more.
They lost Haji halfway through last season. They lost the guy that throws balls at ball boys.
Galina.
Yeah, and then and Elvis Amo as well. So they basically just replaced their
Bigger than that, they lost Cam Lindley, who they traded to
Indy.
To Indy. They lost Tristan Hodd. They lost their starting goalkeeper, which is probably not a huge loss. They lost Michael Edwards, who was on loan.
Hey, you take that back, you son of a bitch.
That's Earl's favorite player right there.
We fucking love Caldwell here.
Yeah, this is like
Put this
Caldwell
on.
country. So yeah,
No, David.
so
No, David,
yeah,
it is.
just
Hold
going
on,
back to it. Colorado Springs, yeah, they lost a whole bunch, but they added more to it. Deshane Beckford.
They
and Malik
traded
Foster.
their coach.
I'm not gonna talk about Romario Williams because God knows he's still. That's why he went to Colorado Springs because he forgot his tent over there, so he had to go back anyways.
Real quick, David. No, that's not the team account. That is Team Earl that changed his name yet again to look like the team account, but it is not the team account. Earl, back to you real quick. I'm not until last year, I rooted for Colorado Springs when they weren't playing us. I liked them. I enjoyed them, specifically Haji Berry. Now that Haji Berry's gone and Brendan Burke is gone and Romario Williams is over there talking shit, I fucking hate them. And so they might finish top 4, but I sure as hell hope they don't.
Right, and then going back to what they added. Their back line, they added James Musa, Joe Kuzminski.
Okay. All right.
They added a bunch.
They added some names. They did. I'm still not high on them, but they did add some names.
Hey, Earl, let's make a little friendly wager. I'll wager a 6-pack of craft beer or whatever reasonable for us here. That Colorado does not finish in the top 6. I'll get you. You think they're going to finish 4th? I think they're going to finish lower. I think they're going to finish in the bottom half of the West.
Okay, so I will take that bet, but that
Love
cheap
that.
craft beer is going to go to either this idiot here.
All right, he's not drinking anymore.
No,
That
it could be
idiot
whatever
there.
you want. Whatever you want.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But the craft beer is going to go to these two idiots.
Well, no, it could be whatever you want. Wine, jungle, the kitty juice that's expensive. Hey, I'll splurge for that.
Some diapers, maybe. Seth, who do you have at 5? 5 through 8.
Harry, you're on the. I'll take your wager.
Oh my God, David, I love your top 4 picks in the West. That's fantastic. That is awesome.
It's sad because I liked a couple of those teams, but
Yeah.
Seth, so
Hey,
who's your 5 through 8?
Open Cup Monterey Bay goes to Fresno. That'll be awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, so looking at 5 through 8, I've got Monterey Bay,
At
Orange
5,
County.
okay.
Yeah, I think Monterey Bay could really. They came on really strong in the last season, and they played really well. They really
did.
gelled as a team.
I have them at 6. So
Yeah, so Monterey, Orange County, RGV, Colorado.
okay.
So you have Colorado making the playoffs. Interesting.
No, I've got them at 8. Oh yeah,
That makes the
yeah,
playoffs.
Yeah,
Playoffs
you're right.
this year.
Just
Seth is
just
not on his
barely.
game tonight.
What?
Seth is not on his.
No,
game
I'm
tonight.
trying. I'm
Second
I'm working my way through the West. I'm like, yeah, and I know what I'm doing,
It's,
but
it's,
like,
it's the other person that's in his phone. That's
Yeah, the
not
one
a-
that he keeps smiling at.
Yeah,
Um,
situationship.
no
so-
situationship.
Is there news from Seth too that I'm not aware of?
No.
no, we just
We're
So I
talking
do have
shit.
Phoenix. I have Phoenix at 5. I have Monterey Bay at 6. And then 7 and 8 are just two teams that they just find a way to make the playoffs. And so I don't necessarily feel the best about them, but I'm going to go with them, and that's RGV and Oakland. I know Oakland has a lot of changes. I think that town is just resilient, and I really want to see those kits in the playoffs. So I've got RGV and Oakland at 7 and 8, which means missing the playoffs. I have Colorado Springs at 9, Orange County at 10, Vegas at 11, and El Paso at 12.
I have Roots at 9, although it's flip of a coin. And I think there's going to be a gap. Colorado Springs at 10, Vegas at 11, and El Paso I've got with the wooden spoon.
Woo! Love it. Earl, your bottom 4.
So I didn't get to the 8th part, to the 8. So I'm fucked there.
Okay. So then Seth.
All right.
Hold on. I was trying to read what crazy Team Earl has going on over there. So at 5, I have San Diego.
Oh yeah, we have none. Okay, sorry, my bad. 5. Okay.
At 6, I have Phoenix.
Okay.
7 and 8. I mean, it's kind of a coin flip between the two. But right now, 7, I have El Paso.
Okay.
What is this?
Okay, and 8.
At 8, I have Monterey Bay.
Okay. I don't. Seth, help me out here. Wait, Seth, do you have Phoenix in the playoffs?
No,
Okay, I didn't think so.
I
Go
do
with
not,
your
no.
with your bottom 4.
my bottom 4, and so I went back and forth on Colorado and Oakland. I think both of them have a shot in making that final playoff spot. But I have Oakland at 9, Rising at 10, Vegas 11, and El Paso dead last.
So why? Let me ask Harry and Seth. Why do you have Orange County in the playoffs?
Because I think last year was a fluke. I think
Was
they were
it?
a better team than they were last year. Now, I think that Orange County is kind of that middle of the road team. They're going to play very tough defensively, so they're always going to be hard to score. And they do have the Golden Boot winner still back, Milan Olaski. So I think they're going to be dangerous. Plus, let's be honest with you, this could be their last year. Let's be honest. Unless they come up with a stadium plan, I'm not sure they get extended at Championship Park.
Yeah, that's something we talked about
Don't
last
laugh
season.
at
A lot of drama out there with their stadium.
Team Earl doesn't seem like he's Team Earl today, and it's making me laugh hysterically.
It's great.
I'm not as sold on him. I know Olaski's coming back. Both Olaskis are coming back. No relation. But I don't like. You could almost go and say that their cup winning year was a fluke in and of itself too.
It was a fluke.
Hey,
So-
look at this.
Oh, David coming up the top road.
Thank
And, to be
And it's
fair,
the guy that matters for New Mexico too. So
you. There we go.
So I don't think they're. I think last year, while fluky, doesn't necessarily guarantee they're going to be top 8. I think they can
I agree with you.
get better and still miss the playoffs, and so I do have them being better. I just don't have them in that top 8.
But
Because
let's
I
be
just don't
honest with
They're
you.
as good as they were.
5 through 10, you could make a great argument for any of the teams.
That is true. That is true.
I think
don't know if
Vegas and El Paso, outside of Earl, I believe it was Earl that had El Paso high, right?
Earl had him for some ungodly reason.
7 or 8.
I think Vegas and El Paso are, to me, are the few that going in, they're the biggest question marks, for that here.
They're
Vegas
clearly at the bottom at the moment.
but Vegas is slightly improving. I think they, they signed Kubo Torres today for that here. They're silently putting together a decent team, but it's Vegas, so you got to show me. El Paso is a dumpster fire. I'm sorry, the coach, the players coming in, the players going out. Still have Yuma, who's still a leading candidate at 40 some or 400 years old with 150 red cards. So fuck him. But
I fully agree. I Vegas and David basically took the words right out of my mouth there as I was about to say them. Vegas reminds me of last year's RGV squad, where they didn't announce shit for basically until like 2 weeks before the season started, and all of a sudden they fielded a playoff team. It
was opening day when they announced their team.
Basically, it was like the Royal Rumble when they were announcing their starting lineup that day. You just never knew who was coming out. So I could see Vegas.
I am disappointed that is the first wrestling talk that we've had an hour and a half in on a show with four wrestling fans. But
don't worry, Harry. We got WrestleMania talk coming up sometime soon.
Yeah, we do.
Wrestling fans, but
can't fucking wait.
So yeah, I could see that. But El Paso's a dumpster fire, and then Colorado Springs is probably my next leading. It looks very flammable. Colorado Springs is my next leading candidate to possibly contend for the Wooden Spoon. And I actually think I might have Vegas above them. Not at the moment, just because Vegas is just Vegas, and I don't know what to think of them. But I feel good that we all have the same top 4, except for Earl coming off the top rope with Colorado Springs. But that's Earl's going to Earl. So I fully expect that. And who knows? I mean, very rarely does I think the top 4 actually go exactly how everybody thinks it's going to go. So he might.
To make you feel better, my 4 and 5, my Colorado Springs and San Diego, were very, very close.
So, and that I do think Sacramento, San Antonio, San Diego, and New Mexico are the 4 best teams in the West. Whether that plays out through a whole season is yet to be seen. But I am really excited for that, and I do think we can finish top 3. Who wins the West when it comes to playoff time? I'll go first on this one.
You know who I'm going with. I've got, obviously I got San Antonio. So
I have us as the 3 seed, and with us being the 3 seed, we avoid San Antonio until the Western Conference Finals. I do have us going out to San Antonio in the Western Conference Finals.
Another Weehan handball. Oh, did I say that out loud?
I said going out to us, to you guys. So I was, you know what? Fuck it. No, we're gonna beat San Antonio in the Western Conference Finals, and we're gonna go to the USL Final. Just Harry had to mention the fucking handball that wasn't a proven handball yet.
So when you say I went top rope, I'll let you guys think about it a little bit more. So when you said I went top rope in my top 4,
you didn't pick Colorado Springs to advance, did you?
How
No, you did.
How top rope are we going? Like Jimmy Superfly Snuka top rope, or like?
I swear, I will
like
kick your ass off the pod if you say Colorado Springs.
No,
you could say anybody else. And I would,
except for El Paso, but
don't say El Paso either. But
no, because I'm actually the same as you, Jacob. I went with your first answer.
Oh, San Antonio.
We go to San Antonio and then lose to San Antonio.
Okay.
Seth?
Googly eyes up there?
No, I'm missing a team
Seth,
in the East.
Put the phone down. She can wait.
You're missing what in the East?
I'm missing a team in the East. I don't know who I'm forgetting.
Here, I got them here. So here's my order in the East.
Can we tell it? Can we finish?
No, I know. Yeah, no, it's I mean, obviously San Antonio is the favorite in the West. But I think
Team Earl coming off the top rope on him like Oh shit!
Wow.
Poor Earl.
Of any team in the league, I think San Antonio has the best chance of reaching the final, and I think they've got to be the favorite to repeat. That being said, though, I think Loyal comes out of the West this year. I think they do.
Nah. No.
I don't know. The Fighting Landons might win a trophy before they go to MLS.
Well, Fighting Landons isn't there anymore.
That's
the real
true.
coach, Nate Miller's there.
Yeah.
Landon's probably off. Well, never mind. I'll keep it PG. Recruiting San Diego to MLS with Mr. Garber.
Gallivan.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Earl, who did you have? You had San Antonio in it. Okay.
Yeah, I actually have a question.
Yes.
I have a question, and this is not soccer related. This is actually a question aimed at homeboy Robert, aka San Antonio FC, aka Team Earl, aka hashtag Team Earl, whatever the hell he wants to be called this week.
Did I hurt you?
Are you just jealous because my girlfriend's on the podcast now?
Oh, a little love triangle. Interesting.
All right, carry on.
Anyway,
I must be missing something. I'm like, where's this coming from?
anyways, so we have 3 different picks, which is nice. I do think it's going to come from that top 4. So I think one of us is bound to be right. I think, which is nice. 1 or 2 of us, and I'm really excited about this season in the West. I think the West is the more entertaining of the 2 conferences for sure. So, but with that being said, we all kind of talk out of our ass all the time anyways, but let's get to something that I know 3 of us at least are probably going to talk out of our ass more than any other time on this podcast. Who do you have winning the East in the regular season?
Lou City.
So I've got, I think it's Lou City, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Leo Fernandez went down with an injury. Mm-hmm. But here's my hot takes from the East if we're not going to go 1 through 12.
I was going to, but
so my number 1's Louisville. I still think Tampa's second. I got Hartford third, Charleston fourth, Tulsa fifth, Legion sixth, Indy 11 seventh. I do have Detroit City making it, and here's where the shockers come in. Miami FC out, Memphis 901 out, Pittsburgh Riverhounds at 11th, and Loudoun United at 12th.
Holy cow. Okay. We do not agree here whatsoever.
No, it's I said, and I know the biggest one's the Riverhounds, but we talk about Colorado losing people.
Yeah, the
Riverhounds have lost more, and the only reason why people still inflate the Riverhounds is Coach Lowly. And I hate to say this as a San Antonio Spurs fan, Coach Popovich is a great coach, Hall of Fame, greatest of all time. But
Harry coming off the top rope on his own guy. Just
Dude, I'm a Nuggets fan, but I live in San Antonio long enough, and I love Coach Pop and like through here, but we've all seen it. Coach Belichick as an example.
Yeah.
It's
So here's what
my
I got.
East is all quangled because
my East is almost as bad as yours. So I have Lou City winning the East.
Okay,
because
you're going to come out with like Loudoun or something.
I did put LOU, so God knows what I was trying to say there.
It might have been Loudoun. Who knows?
I don't know. I was doing this on the way home today, so I have Lou City because there's no other team in the East at that point. There's Tampa Bay in second, Indy at third, Birmingham at fourth, Memphis at fifth, Charleston at sixth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and Hartford at seventh. And that's as far as I got, and my brain kind of cramped up.
Notice no Riverhounds either.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work through this, and like the East is really hard because again, we've talked about we don't really look at the East all that much. Now, this year we're going to play everybody in the East.
Mhm.
So we're definitely going to be paying more attention to them this year than we have in the past. But yeah, I have Lou City number 1. I mean, hands down. I mean, they've got to be the hands down favorite there. Tampa Bay at 2. I've got Birmingham at 3, and then I have Indy at 4. And probably, I agree with Harry. I think that Pittsburgh is going to have a rough season. I think they squeak into the playoffs at 8. I've got Battery, 901, and Miami jumping them into the 5, 6, and 7 spots. Hartford, Tulsa, Loudoun, and Detroit City. So,
yeah, I mean, we're for the amount of continuity we had in the West, we do not have that in the East. It is, but that is expected with 4 guys from the Western Conference talking about the East. I can't.
But I
speak
think
for
the
Eddie. I know
East
cover it.
wild card though.
Yeah,
The East is outside of Lou City and Tampa. There's you could probably draw a name out of the hat, and you could argue a point, and it'd be valid, with the exception of maybe Loudoun United, being at the bottom. And I think that changes next year because this is their first year as an independent, and that was just a month ago or less than a month ago, around there.
But even at that, I would also, with those 2 you're saying, Lou City and Tampa Bay, I would throw Memphis in there. They're right in the mix last season, all the way until the end.
I
The thing with Tampa Bay, though, they lost what the hell is his name? Galzendi or something?
Yeah, he went to Indy.
yeah.
Quinzati.
Quinzati.
The bigger loss
Quinzati.
is Leo Fernandez,
Leo Fernandez went
who
down
just
with
went with the ACL or something
yeah,
like
and
that.
it's done
Lower
for
leg
the
injury.
And that has actually dropped Tampa. I know Tampa still has JJ and Cal Jennings there, but that injury definitely dropped them down for me. I had made my list before the Gundram little nugget came out earlier today, so I actually
Good
have whatever. I did have Memphis 3rd because they are bringing back a lot of continuity, even though it's a different coach. So I still
Coaching matters, though.
I know.
Coaching matters.
but it matters, but it's hard for me to project what a coach is going to do. So I don't know if this coach is going to come in and be way worse, way better, about the same, what it's going to be. So I was giving them the benefit of the doubt just a little bit based on what I do know from them, and still putting them 3rd. That might change with the Goodrum news and just the vibes coming out of that place. David over here in the chat, not doing predictions, but doing predictions.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure this is David's first ever prediction.
And David coming in with Indy at 1 instead of Lou City shocks the hell out of me, but it is what it is. So
I mean, Lowry has made some big changes in Indy.
He's brought in the 2018, 2019, 2020 All-Star team.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? They're old. They play on turf.
Gwynzetti's still going to be good. Lindley's still going to be good. Quinn's still going to be good. So, yes, I don't have him finishing 1. I do think they make leaps and bounds of improvement on last year's squad, though. So I like you guys. I have Lou City finishing 1. That's kind of an obvious one. Birmingham, I had it 2, which is lower than I think everybody else here, or higher than I think everybody else here. And I just think that continuity-wise, they have it. Not a lot of changes. The ones that they did bring in.
For who?
Birmingham. The ones they did bring in, like Nico Brett, I think just performs better in that kind of system. And so I just, once I got past Lou City, though, I didn't know. It's just such a shit show in the East as far as I'm concerned. Unless you go Tampa, but with Tampa's injuries and losing Guinzotti, I didn't know. It was like, okay, Memphis has their issues. Indy is coming on really strong. I don't know if they made that big of a push. So 2 was kind of wide open for me, and I just took a squad that I think has been very consistent since they came into the league, has good quality depth, and can kind of manage the long schedule and long season and come away with the most points when all is said and done. Or second most points to Lou City when all is said and done at the end of the regular season.
Here's why I don't trust Legion. and I've talked to Kaler about this for the last couple of years, is the head coach of Birmingham. Kind of like when San Antonio had Coach Powell, our first coach, and I love him, and he did a lot of good things. But he could never get you to that promise. Like the talent that you saw on the roster, it just never materialized. And then when Coach Marcina came in, new set of ears, obviously San Antonio's took the jump. That's what I fear about Legion is they have a good coach, but I don't think he's the one that can get them over the step there for that here. And that's why to me I have Legion, because they'll drop games that they should not be dropping. And that's been a staple of Legion for there. They don't play bad. They'll never be out of it. But when you look at the talent, you look at the results, it never matches up.
But I think what you're saying can be true, as well as them finishing second, just because of the way the East is this year. I just don't see another top echelon team after Lou City that's going to run away with a 2 or 3 seed. So I had Birmingham at 2. Like I said, I had Memphis at 3. I probably switched Tampa and put Tampa there now. And then I had Tampa at 4, Indy at 5, Pittsburgh. I'm the Bob Lilly stan apparently of this podcast, which I never thought I'd say.
I love Bob Lilly.
I just trust him to get results. I'm not saying he's going to win the title. I'm not saying they're going to win the East. It goes to my projection of the East being just jumbled.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
They can go ahead and because I trust him to get results that I don't trust necessarily other teams to get, they can squeeze out enough to get playoffs, get the 6th seed, and then probably lose in the first round. Then I have Tulsa and Miami rounding out the playoff form. And then I have Hartford, who I went back and forth on. I like Hartford. I think they're a much better team. I wanted to put them in the playoffs. I just couldn't figure out a way to do it. Charleston was kind of the same. I had them at 10, and then Loudoun at 11. And I'm not going to win any fans here. Detroit at 12, and that they lost a lot, and I think they overperformed last year. We saw them come back down to earth as the season went on, and so because of that, I think they finished bottom of the league over there in the East.
Yeah, the East is going to be really interesting to see what happens over there this season. I mean, obviously, Northern Guard and the Detroit City supporters are not very happy with, obviously with John Morrissey. They're not going to be very happy with us either. I look at Detroit City and I just don't know where they've improved at all this offseason.
But they have a coach that to me is on par with Bob Lilly. He gets results. He overperforms what his roster is. That's why I have Detroit City as 8.
And I'm not as familiar with him or their organization since they were just in the league last year. I'm not as familiar with the history there as like I am with Bob Lilly. So you very well might be right there. I think last year was just kind of fluky with them. And if what you're saying is the way it is, then maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's just him being a really good coach.
But it's a wild card.
And they do have a good goalkeeper, and a good goalkeeper is worth, a handful more points than an average goalkeeper. So I might be too low on them, but I mean, the East, a lot of it was just throwing darts at a dartboard and seeing what you hit. So who do you have coming out of the East playoff wise?
Lou City. I think they run away at the best record and host the finals.
Agreed.
Yeah, I can't find any fault to that. I mean, I look at the changes that the other teams have made, and yeah, I think there's some regression in Pittsburgh. I think there's some regression in Memphis. It's just
regression in Tampa. They hate to say it, regression in Tampa. Or unproven in Tampa. We'll say they have a good coach, but it's unproven, and we'll got to see how it is. And then you've got Hartford, Charleston, and Indy. The roster-wise, are made huge jumps, but we've seen, take New Mexico last year. You brought in on paper a decent roster, and it just didn't mesh. So that'll be interesting to see how it is. You got Todd Ramos in Hartford, Ben Pitterman in Charleston, and Lowry in Indy. Good coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
Harry, good night, or not Harry? Sorry, David. Good night.
Good night, David.
Dave, appreciate you being here as always.
and I think that's like Indy specifically. We're very familiar with Lowry over here in New Mexico, obviously with El Paso. All the matches. I mean, how many games did we play against him in El Paso? Like 12 in 2 seasons. I mean, it was I'm like almost dead serious. Like it was at least 9.
Well, yeah, because you guys were during the COVID years in
Yeah.
the same pods where you paid
so-
4 times.
Yes, and then we played him once in the playoffs. So I mean, we're very familiar with what he can do, and I think I look at that El Paso roster from last year and how it underperformed, even though it was a very similar roster to what he had. So we know what he can do with a roster, and so I have Lou City beating Indy in the championship or in the Western or Eastern Championship there, and so I am pretty high on Indy, but I just don't know if they can get over that hump that is Lou City. So all in all, guys, it's 4 days away, 5 days away for most teams, and I'm so looking forward to it. We waited all off season, and it's finally here. We have to wait an extra week for New Mexico, but it'll be worth it. It'll be nice to watch a weekend of USL's championship soccer without having to worry about when my team plays, and yeah, it's finally here. Any other off of the wall, random predictions, thoughts, anything like that?
Well, I evidently took it with Pittsburgh finishing 11th, and Earl with his Colorado Springs is what, 4th,
Yeah.
Fourth.
and El Paso is 8th. I think those are
Yeah.
I think those are crazy enough here. And Earl's got to get up in the morning, so it
Yeah.
is almost midnight,
Tell
or at
me,
least for me, midnight.
yeah, it's almost 11 here, which is super late for Earl, apparently. Although he's folding
Chris, when
stuff.
you have to be in Santa Fe by 7:30.
Dude, that's what, an hour and a half drive.
Yeah.
Not even that bad. But anyways,
And
he's
I
still
felt bad.
packing. You're still packing.
There's fucking laundry to be done.
Earl, do you have anything else?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Earl. Love you.
Take
Seth?
me out.
Yeah.
Anything?
No, I mean, I think we pretty much hit it. I mean, the season's here. It's time to all of our predictions and prognostication. We'll see what happens starting this weekend.
Yeah, we'll probably
Guess what?
go like 3 for 5.
We actually get to see what our teams look like because most of us have no clue what our teams look like.
That's true. Yeah, Harry, you had said something the other day that we actually got to see our team in person. So, yeah, it'll be real interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see us play against a college team, but it was still nice to see them on the pitch, and yeah, I think it's going to be a good year. I think the USL is still making good positive strides. We are obviously using pro referees again. I believe it was Harry that had a tweet about it. It had some emoji eyes or something like that. With the pro referee coming out with who's reffing what games. Some familiar names on the list, but I'm not a huge the refereeing is costing us all this stuff kind of guy. I don't really soccer, as Seth knows, and maybe Harry knows, is not the easiest sport to referee. And when you're not the top tier, you're not going to get the top tier refs, and you're going to lose the top tier refs when you do have them because they're going to move up.
Although if you ask Josh Goss, he'll probably tell you that was a pretty darn good referee for him this weekend.
Well, good.
And guess what? How many times do we bitch about the referees in the English Premier League, which are probably one of the highest rated referees in the game?
Amen.
Yeah.
So
Basically, suck it. Whether it's
Just-
a handball or not, just stop talking about it 3 years later and grow a fucking pair and move on. Harry and Robert.
And I'll bring this full circle here. We started talking about, youth sports here, and I've gotten a lot better at it. If you're at San Antonio FC, if you're at New Mexico or at a professional game, yell at the refs. It's okay within reason as long as you don't, abuse any rules by the stadium. But if you're at a club game, high school, rec game along those lines with just, people that are volunteering their time. Don't give the refs a hard time. They're doing their job. A lot of times it's kids. A lot of times it's, people doing a second job to earn there and just give back to the community. It happens way too much in the United States and we wonder why people aren't refereeing, and it doesn't matter the sports. It's because us as parents can't keep our mouth shut, for that here, which has also led to the kids on the pitch not keeping their mouth shut either. So
Adults are almost as bad. I'll tell you right now.
They're worse.
Yeah, I did 4 adult league games on Sunday, one of which I had 0 ARs. So yeah, I told them before a game, I said, guys, I have no ARs. I'm going to do my best with offside calls and other stuff. So just like cut me some slack, But even people they were complaining. I had another game. Actually, the game I did that Josh Goss was playing in, guy started arguing a call with me. I said, look, no, this is the way it is. Defender made a deliberate attempt to play the ball, played the ball. The ball did not go where they wanted it to. And Josh actually scored as a result. Neither my AR or I called it offside because the defender made a deliberate attempt to play the ball. That's the way the rule is written. The guy went to the sideline while he's subbed out, pulled up the laws of the game, and proceeded to try to tell me that I was wrong. So, yeah. Just shut your mouth. It's Sunday league. It's youth league. Be grateful you even have referees. So,
and that is a another reason why we need to do a Dad Venture pod on this topic. So, Harry, you coming in, being more knowledgeable than Seth on New Mexico United stuff just warmed my heart.
I wouldn't go that far because, to be honest with you, prior to the show, I was asking Seth about the defense because offense, I think it's kind of clear, hey, who's going to be the but back, because you guys have made so many changes and stuff's like, hey, this is what I think. And, it's a roll of the dice. But no, I always enjoy being on the show. And like I said here, I've had the New Mexico flags out. Obviously, I'm not a New Mexico fan, but I am on a New Mexico podcast. And like I said here, you guys are nice enough when New Mexico is cool enough to give out the flags to, if you can send one my way, which I enjoy collecting USL memorabilia.
Really?
So,
I couldn't tell.
Just a little bit. That's just USL. I got, others over here, others over here. I got a whole row of teams that are, well, no longer playing, or at least active, and that includes Queensboro, because I was one of the yahoos that bought a Queensboro scarf, thinking, oh hey, and yeah, they didn't even make it onto the pitch.
In memoriam. Anyways, thanks again, Harry. Team Earl, whatever. Thanks, I guess.
Fuck that guy.
He changed his name back to Earl something.
I didn't give him 2 fucks when he said
Team Earl.
Earl's
drama in Earl land tonight, man. Hey, well, congratulations to Seth, Team Seth.
Yes,
finally,
that's your girlfriend.
And David, thanks. I know you're already gone, but if you listen to it later, thanks for popping in the chat. It's finally here. We're ready. We will watch. I don't know how many games this weekend, and then we will turn around and be back here. The 3 of us, not including Harry, I don't believe. We'll be back here next Tuesday at 9:00 to talk about some of the games that we watched, and then just get ready for New Mexico's first match against Miami. Now that'll be on the 18th, just 11 days away. So catch us then. And until then, guys, somos unidos, and thanks again.